conflicts in a way for us to find a safe guideline how to get out of those situations. So she breaks down the chapter in 3 points, right? The root causes of stress. So we can identify where this stress is coming from. Stressing process and means, like the mechanics of stressing situations, stressing people, and we say people, we include ourselves because we all have a level of stress. And then at the end, she gives us stress therapy. That's the best part, right? So at the end, we'll talk about what kind of advice she has for us, which is very good. So she mentions that the term stress came from Selye. He was a Hungarian scientist, and the term was coined in 1948 because not only the word stress, but the actual what stress means, right? So he was a scientist, and he was not really just doing a definition of stress for a psychological purpose. He was bringing stress in general. Even in physics, we have term stress, so it's applicable in many ways. But basically it means it's a pressure exerted on the individual in the form of an energy load higher than his capacity for emotional resistance, which produces conduct disorder. So in very short, it's like we are carrying a load bigger, heavier than we can carry. And because we do that, because we have this overload, there will be consequences, right? So the idea is like, let's talk about the causes of stress and what it means. So most times we suffer most because of lack of knowledge, because knowledge is such a powerful force that nowadays we see that medicine and so many other fields of healthcare, it's much more advanced. There is a different conversation nowadays with our doctors. We talk about stress because we'll see here how bad stress is. But we also see here that stress is something necessary. It's part of our composition. But there are so many things that happens that bring stress into becoming an illness, an obstacle that it really, instead of helping us, impede us from moving forward. So everybody okay with that definition? Excellent. Overloads the pressure exerted on the individual in the form of an energy load higher than his capacity for her capacity for emotional resistance, which produces conduct disorder. We'll see that the word emotional resistance is associated also with resilience. That word is very common now in psychological terms. Resilience is our capacity of dealing with situations, dealing with people, that we need to use our emotional intelligence. So this has everything to do with how we use it, how we have it, and how we change ourselves into it. So why do we suffer, right? This is at some points that it brings us the environment around us into stress, into causes of stress. So we do live in a competitive and distressed society, right? If we're, not just because we're in the United States of America, one of the richest nations in the world, very leader in so many aspects. We're talking about society as a whole, not just here, but because in this path of progress, everybody wants to do better. We are in a way of evolution in various ways. So there is this necessity of us doing more and doing better, but there is a lot of stuff that happens in a way, right? So what happens is that when we bring stress to our lives, we tend to have more commitments than we can afford to have. And then we have shortage of time. How much can we handle in one day? Most times we're not trying to be the superhero. It's just that we have that level of responsibility towards our family, towards our business, towards our employment, towards other people, towards a relationship, that we start adding into our list, and it becomes an overload. So, as I mentioned, we have a need for better wages, to have more comfort and pleasure. And there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody wants to advance. We all want to be living more comfort, providing more, and being able to enjoy the fruits of our labor, right? So it's completely fine. The problem is the overload, is the imbalance. So everything has to do with how we handle, how are we prepared to commit into something that I cannot afford to do it, or I'm not prepared to do it. So it has to do with time management. It has to do with not having ambition be everything. Have ambition, but measure everything out. So then we have all of this brings us anxiety. We all have that guilty feeling, the guilt when things go wrong, and things do go wrong. Like they have the Murphy's Law, right? Things gotta go wrong, they gotta go wrong. And we have this, in some we have this, unbalanced emotional structure. So, it's a very generic term when you say unbalanced emotional structure. If you put in a very macro level, it's an unbalance that it has to do with our whole entire world. Human beings as a whole, as since we're from the cave times, we have been evolving. We have been evolving. But there were periods of time that we evolved very slowly. And then we just jump into, something much more, we were more prepared to have different challenges. And then we jump even more. We're moving faster. We're moving faster than ever. We can see with technology what technology can do, and pretty soon, if you follow the waves of technology, every year, every month, there's something new and something better. It's a constant. It's very agile. Continuing the root causes here of stress. Why do we suffer, right? So we have this denial and fear, and most of the times when we are feeling stressed out, we deny that because we don't want to feel stressed out, because we are educated what stress can do to us. And instead of dealing with the stress, we tend to find ways to eliminate stress, to hide the stress. And in itself, it will provoke more stress because we are procrastinating something. And that's when like stressing situation goes from one level to the other. So it will bite us sometime. We have this desperate need for success and achievements, which is all good again. The problem when things become stressful, it's when we have so much greed and so much ambition, and we're become so materialistic involved with our goals that we put so much energy into something that we want to accomplish that we take the energy that we wouldn't need to use to keep ourselves balanced. Like for instance, if you used to take vacation 3 weeks in a year, but for some situation you are working in a project that instead of taking that vacation, you're gonna use just that money just to, you know, put into whatever you're doing. And there it goes, our vacation. So it's, you know, I can do it, you know what, I need the money more than I need the rest. And that is a problem, because we will, at the end of the day, we were gonna get things done, but at a cost. It's the cost of stress. And most of the times, and we'll see here, as a result, we get, and we're talking about finance, and finance is one of the top causes of not just creating stress, it's elevating the level of stress, because it's all about how we manage, right, and how we get stuck into it. So again, the emotional overload that we have in so many levels, like within our family circle, within our employment, within our circle of close friends, and sometimes not even people close to us. The situation that's going on in politics, in crime and violence, right, that we see, we feel so insecure, depending where you live, and that it is also a issue for stress. Parental egotism, what does that mean? That is a cause of stress once we have that situation where us as parents, and I'm a parent, we treat our kids like they were our property. And we love them so much, and we do so much for them that we're sort of like, we hear this, Mom, Dad, you're suffocating. Because we tend to do that. And they even have a term like a helicopter mom, helicopter dad, because we're hovering around the kids and we're so overprotected. But that is also a reason for stress, because it is an emotional imbalance that we have as a parent. And by doing that, instead of helping the kid or child, we're really not. We're causing stress to ourselves, to them, and it is egotism because we are looking into what we think is best in our view, not giving room to what's best in general. And that can cause deception after that kid then graduates from high school, college, living, and then goes away, start living their lives, and it was had such a stress level at home with the suffocation, with the overdoing the parent, that kind of becomes disconnected with the parent. We see this happening, and there is a reason for creating stress, because it's like, now I have my liberty, right? And they go to that path and don't keep the parent as a priority. We have deception in marriage. Because again, it's all about emotional imbalance. Sometimes we have so much expectation in our marriage with our spouse. It doesn't even need to be marriage, it could be just a relationship. But we tend, and this is a natural thing, you know, some people are more passionate than others. And we create so much expectation, and then the expectations are not met. We get frustrated, and that generates a level of stress that starts growing and growing. And instead of understanding the spouse and trying to compensate, okay, he or her is really not doing this. You know, I'm married to a very messy person. I'm the messy person. My spouse is here, so I have to be nice about this. But she compensates with my messiness by other stuff that I do right. So she doesn't nag, and I try to do the same. But I was I can see myself, because we learn. I was married before, in my first marriage, and I was like just a nag. I was, my ex-wife and myself, we used to bicker at each other for no reason. And we created a level of stress for just like pointing fingers. That's not healthy. That's not healthy. And that's why sometimes we find ourselves in the ex, talking about an ex relationship. But it is not who's right or who's wrong. Because Everybody's wrong. And everybody's right. It's how we learn and how we respect each other. Sometimes we can be the best person in the world and do so good to other people outside, so much charity, helping other people. But then we come home, it's like we transform. We're like, because there is this circle of comfort that we are, and that's who we really are. And there is nothing wrong. Nobody's born perfect. We all here to learn. We're like life students, right? The problem is like when we insist and continue with the same attitude, with the same lack of respect to yourself, to others. And the lack of respect is by us not wanting to change, because there is change and there is the desire to change. It's like they say, oh no, dog can learn new tricks. It's not true. Any dog at any age can learn new tricks if he wants to or she wants to. Right? It's not just the guy's fault. Keep that, right, Tom? Keep that. We have that in career. We have, because again, it's nothing wrong with success, but then everything is about your career. Everything is like, you lose focus with what's most important. And sometimes we even lack giving the attention to the people who just need sometimes, just to be told, I love you, or what you need, do you have a problem? And everything is around our career, our business, our next step to move further. And lastly here in this list, a loss of a loved one. So most of us, we still have an issue with not, and it's terrible. I lost a parent, but I know some parents lost kids, and it's terrible. Everybody can talk about the process of mourning, but everybody's different. Everybody mourns differently. It's very sad. And in any references that we have on this, it is everyone has their own. The problem is that there is a timing for us to mourn, for us to miss someone, and that period has to stop at one point, and we have to move forward to miss that person, but not be stressed about that, not live around it. Just like, a year passes, 2 years passes, and the person who lost a loved one is still like bringing that person into the day-to-day as nothing had happened, and that spirit, us when we discarnate, we are on the other side. We're busy. We are connected to the people we love here, but we still have needs that and every time we're thinking about somebody who are already in the spiritual world, we are sending so much energy that we are not really helping. We are actually on the way, in a way. That's why, we have to respect, even once we're in a different planes. So this is what we have. So you know that what Joanna is saying here is nothing wrong. This was from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation and the Harvard School of Public Health. It was a census done in 2014. We have it here because it's pretty much still true. So these are the top reasons, most common contributors to stress among Americans with great deal of stress. So the first one is to have too many responsibilities, right? 54%. So didn't we talk about that? It's top there. In other words, we're doing more than we can handle. The second cause here is the problems with finances. It's a big one, right? But it's not the first one. The first one is to have too much responsibilities. And I think my here is really very easy for me to read. The third one is work problems among employed. It accounts for 53%. So those first three here are 54, 53, 53%. And then in fourth place comes health problems. And then in fifth is the health problems of the people around us. Close family, disease or some kind of illness. And it's hard to cope. And it is not just stress, great deal of stress. And following are being unhappy with the way you look. That can cause a lot of stress because what we see here, it's a great deal of materialistic needs that we have. The fact that we care so much how we look, the fact that we care so much about our finances causes so much stress. The problems that we have with our work, the stress that we have at work, those are all material needs, material imbalance. But I'll give you a very fresh statistics by the American Psychology Association. It's a study that was done at the end of 2018, very recent, and they rated Americans, United States. In the United States, what are the 5 top reasons for stress people feel stressed about? What do you think it comes first? This new poll, that's new. Number 1. That came second. Wasn't the politics. Well, actually, has to do with politics. The number 1 was what causes us stress is the future of our nation. And what we can read from there, it's not necessarily just being a patriotic, being nation, be a good citizen. It's fear. It's fear. There is so much going on that one of the top reasons for stress is how we, Americans, residents, aliens, immigrants, whomever is living here and have America as our country, this is what came up from this study. The second reason is the economy. The second factor that contributes to stress the most. The third is the state of our politics. It's amazing. Pardon me. The third was work related. The fourth is the political environment. And fifth is crime and violence. So we are a nation suffering from fear. Most of all of those 5 items here have to do with fear, with insecurity. And what are the causes of all of this? If we look around, because those are effects of the root cause. The root cause is, go back here. It's a competitive and distressed society, right? We do see that. We are in such a political instability, and again, not to be critical about Republicans or Democrats, none of that. It's us as a society, as humanity. We say this in the United States, but because that's where we get the data from, but this applies to any place in the world. How are we treating each other? The reason that we fight most for insecurity and for this level of stress to be hitting us in such a high degree, it's because fear, insecurity, and hate. There's a lot of hate going on. And that's not, and we are suffering because we were not built for that. We were built to be kind. We were built to live peacefully. We're built to live as brothers and sisters, and that's what's inside of our DNA. So once we become sick, diseased, and we are suffering from stress, we have our heart issues related to stress. We have pulmonary issues. We have all kinds of issues, hormonal issues, blood pressure, you name it. The list is very long. It's because we are living very unnaturally. Do you guys agree with that? Does it make sense? So Joanna closes this chapter stating the following. Each existential experience becomes an emotional asset that joins previous ones, providing personal growth and inner fulfillment. Nobody reaches equilibrium without going through the test of uplifting struggles. So, struggles, it's something necessary. It's okay for us to have stress with the struggles we have to deal with. We're all here to do better. We all have a start that it doesn't start here in this life. We all have a past. Like we have the existential experience becomes an emotional asset that joins previous ones. Previous ones what? Previous lives. Our previous behavior. How did we behave 200 years ago? Was I this nice person that we became now? No. It's a collection of experiences of us doing things wrong and learning, doing things better, trying, transforming ourselves. But we need to go through these struggles. So it's natural for us to face struggles. What is unnatural is for us to live those struggles in a very unbalanced way, forgetting who we are. So usually stress it's associated with this function on our neural system, and we have the brain here. And we actually have a lot of stuff that's going on in our brain, but we're not just this physical body, right? So our mind, when we say our mind, it's not our brain. Our brain is a channel, it's a physical channel in which we express our mind, we express who we are. And we have all of this intelligence there. But all of this stress is created in our spirit. And we can definitely, and most of the times, the reason why the stress becomes malicious, it becomes a source of illness, is because we give control to everything else, to everybody else but us. We do not take control of our own life, our own being. We just live life so mechanically, just considering that this is all I have, this is, these are my limitations, this is what I'm capable of. Not realizing that we're much bigger than that. We do have complete control over our lives, no matter how bad things are. I'm going to skip this one, about this one. When you're stressed out, but you try to... Have you felt like this little doggy before? We all do. Because we are always trying to cope with stress in a way that we can pretend that we are fine. And the problem, when the stress becomes something that we should probably seek help, is because we're doing this so much. We're putting so much of this mask that everything is okay, everything's okay. It is not what we're telling to other people. What are we telling to ourselves? What is our truth about ourselves, how we feel? So the more that we procrastinate dealing with the stress or distressing situation, the more that it will get bigger and will follow us, and then will become somatic, meaning like it will express in some organ of our body. It's mostly connected to the heart. You notice that? There is a lot of stress. And there is a very energetic explanation for that, because if you see that the heart, again, when we're talking about the brain, the heart in a different dimension, in a spiritual dimension, what we have here in our hearts, like, you know, we have a chakra here called the heart chakra, cardiac chakra, whatever you like to call it, is where we concentrate our feelings, our sentiments. That's how we relate to people. That's how, and that's why it is so connected to the actual physical heart, because our heart pulsing blood and providing blood for all the other organs is like a center of life. In the brain we have like a center of intelligence, but we have a center of life. And here, in this area, we concentrate how our emotions, how we deal with everything. And the more that area of ourselves is so clustered, it's so full of resentments, hate, fear, insecurity, procrastination, lack of cleaning the house, right? Having a healthy, balanced life. So this is, I don't know what happened to the slides. So stressing processes and means, how it happens. This is what Joanna says about stressing situations. Undoubtedly, there are many factors that lead to stress, but at the same time, there are innumerable resources for the liberation of oppressive burdens when one wants to change behavior and acquire well-being. Anxiety is inevitable in several situations. However, under control and lucidity, it can be avoided so it does not reach psychological and unhealthy organic levels. So going back to the cycle of the brain and the heart, especially in the brain side, once we're living under these stressing situations and we have an issue to deal with stress, what's going on behind the scenes is like ourselves, our true self, it's sitting behind in the back seat. And the driver of that vehicle is this crazy, revolted, rebellious child. We hear this a lot, right? That child that is always complaining. It's always. So once we let someone, or we just leave everything mechanically, we are giving control to something else. There's some literature that they call it, you know, that's the crazy drunken monkey that it's carrying everything over. That's why things are irrational sometimes, and that's why we have this chemical imbalance, because everything is so out of order. There is just too much disturbance going on, and we cannot stop it because we are part of that disturbance. This is a lack of us stopping, like Joanna mentioned here. It's okay to go through anxiously, to have anxiety, to have stress, but we have to take control. If we have control and lucidity, like, you know, what do I need to do to make the situation less harmful to myself? How can I decrease the stress level? All we have to do is step back, take control. Because what's going on in the background, once you're just watching what's happening, you're just letting things happen. We have to go back, take our position, take ownership over our lives, over everything that's going on, because that child that is just complaining and crying and doing everything, it is us too. It's a part of us that it's escape that we have, because situation becomes so overwhelming that I cannot deal with it. If you cannot deal with your own situation, who do you expect, who do you and I, because I'm part of this too, we're all in the same boat, who do we expect is going to take control? It's still us, but it's a part of us that we just let free. You know what? let come the trouble maker, the deal maker, the cleaner, right? And it becomes more messy. It becomes more messy because we just made a decision to step back and don't deal with the situation. Someone has to deal with the situation. Someone inside of us, and it's not the prettiest part of us, because that's when we show our aggression. We see so much violence. 80 to 90% of the domestic violence, it's because of this uncontrolled stress. Is the fact that there's so much escapes. There's so much, instead of facing the situation, we tend to find escapes. Find an escape through alcohol, drugs, or whatever, or overeating, over watching TV, or doing everything that's unbalanced excessively, and we are using that so much in a very repetitive, in a very, I would call it small intoxication of our soul, because that's what we do. When that happens, we are just letting the worst of us take over. And we do have that part of us that's still very primitive. And that's, and the one, that our superior self is what we were talking about. We were born to be peaceful, to have so much love. We were born with love. But we were given free will. We make our decisions. In order for us to be gods, we have to live through the process. Like, no pain, no gain. So, it is, once we take over the situation, say, okay, enough of this mess. Let me take over the situation. When we face the facts with responsibility, we take responsibility over everything that's going on. It's not that person's fault, now that person's fault, it's not the country's fault, it has to do with me. If I want anything to change in my life, I have to see what part of the puzzle, what part of the problem it's caused by me. We find that root cause, we work on ourselves, we take responsibility, and we put the little child that we have inside of us, you go back to your room, and you don't come out from there. Then we will be dealing with stress. We do have stress medication for cases that it's when we have chemical imbalance, because our body does produce that. But the psychological help, it will help more than the chemical help that we can take. How about the stress therapy? I have this cat here because it is such a good example of what we're talking about. Let's read what it says here. I too used to stress about Mondays and meetings, office politics, and annoying co-workers. I was very stressed out, right? But then I remember that I'm just a cat. I can just stay home and chill all day. This is a very good, why we're bringing this in the stress therapy. How can we overcome stress? We forget who we are. The emotional overload that we take, it's because most times we're trying to live a life that it's not the life that we're supposed to be having, supposed to be living. We forget that once we are in a stressful situation, and we become so impacted by it, that everything becomes a blur. It's like the world will come to an end. We see, unfortunately, in most of suicide attempts and actually suicides that happens, it's because we become in this cycle of our thoughts of fear and insecurity and loss of hope, that it becomes just a blur. And then then we get so involved with that it looks like there is no solution for anything. And then we don't take ownership over our lives. Someone will take ownership of our lives. And In fact, once we leave that inner child or inner person you're stepping away from, that part of us, it's the weak part of us. You'll be even subject to spiritual influences. We see that our thoughts are influenced by good spirits, but also bad spirits. So we have to always remind ourselves who we are. Truly, this is not a life that's going to end here. The struggle that we're going through does not define who we are. Who we are is what we do best, what we make most of everything we do. Who we are is how we love everything we do. We love everyone we come to encounter, but we're loving ourselves. We are not living just for us. The cat could have like people think cats are very lazy, and they are, and they're very not like a dog. Like the cat just stays, and it's different, a cat and a dog. What? How much can a cat do? It's like he's not going to be chasing mice all day. You know, he's living a life of a cat. He's not trying to live a life of a dog. So it is a good reminder that are we really trying to be someone that we are not? This is what Joanna advises about the stress therapy. The belief in the future life, therefore, in the immortality of the spirit, and in its glorious destination, constitutes the most adequate preventive self-therapy in relation to stress as well as its overcoming. So just understanding that whatever is going on, the worst that there is, even if we're faced with a terminal disease, and that like our days are counted, we should not fail in despair. We should not do crazy things just because that's happened. I know it's terrible and nobody wants that to happen. But we just let the stress take over if we're just believing and trusting that that's it. Once we know that there's more to it, this is just a page or a chapter in the book of our lives. Life will go on. Things become a little more easy for us to handle. So what can we summarize from all of this that we're talking about? We need to ask for help. We need to pray. We need to meditate. Like we're talking about modern medicine now. If you go to a doctor and complain about stress, 9 out of 10 doctors is going to use the word meditate. Or, are you taking, you got to take your time. You got to, take a break. You got to take a break. Plan your life. It's like cause and effect. If we see financial burdens, most of the times we live outside of what we can afford to live. We live like in a fantasy world, or sometimes we have too much ambition and we didn't measure the risks. So you're going to have problems. And then it's our lack of plan. If we plan things the way that we're, let's be humble. Let's think big, but let's not be irresponsible about things that's going to bite us later. Assisting others is one of the best therapies, because once we come out of our own needs and we see that there are so many people with so much needs out there, we start seeing things in a different dimension. We start forgetting about our own level of stress. I'm suffering, but look at this person. Oh my God, I have all of this, and this person is dealing with so much more than I am, and they seem to be fine. They seem to be handling fine. Why am I making such a big deal of all of this? Take care of your health. This is our health in every way. Our health mentally. Let's watch what we ingest mentally, because that's how we're gonna, just like what we ingest in our bodies, our nutrition, will dictate how our health is physically. mentally, it's the same thing. Everything that it goes to our minds, it becomes food for thought, and then it becomes emotions. So if we're seeing a lot of, if we, our choices are a lot of disturbances, anything that is not going to help us, it's definitely going to be on the way. It's going to bother us. Take care of your mind. If we think we're losing our mind, we have to have the three steps approach, right? You have to see a mind, our spirit. It's basically our mind. It's our life. We have to find. We need to seek professional help, because if we are finding ourselves in a very complicated situation that we are really losing control, it could be that we are suffering from an unbalance, a physical imbalance, a hormonal or a chemical imbalance, that it does affect our mind, it does affect our thinking. And we have to stop, take a break, be in silence, and start evaluating who we are. Because that kind of disturbance that we start, trying to figure it out, what am I doing? Is it worth it? Is everything making sense? We start getting in loops, in that vicious cycle, unproductive. It's time for us to analyze and ask for help. That's we have here on Wednesday. We call the fraternal assistance. It's a one-on-one talk, and we do have spiritual help. We could be having we could be having some kind of spiritual issues that we need to have help about that. We need to figure out what's going on. So there is no way for us to take care of our mind if we don't take care of our spirit. And to close, taking care of our spirit is being connected also to the Creator. Come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. That's what Jesus says, and Matthew recorded in his gospel. So this is not just a religious phrase or a religious connection to God. It is an intimate. It is an intimate way for us to find. If some people have issues of connecting with Jesus or connecting to God, and it's all good, but connect to the universe then. If you find more balance this way, it's fine. The important thing is to know, you have the conviction that we are not here by chance. We have a purpose in this life. We have a superior force that is taking care of us. It's making sure that everything we do has a lot of value. And when Jesus proposes this to us, is that let's try to silence ourselves. The meditation that we're talking about, and when we do yoga or some kind of mental relaxation, it's all about quieting ourselves down. Once we find that silence, and it's very honest and deep, that's a straight connection to God. And that's the time that's the meditation that becomes a prayer. We are then putting our lives before God, our troubles. I have in this situation. This is so much I cannot handle, but we might not have the answers we're looking for. But by us relying this to God and asking, it is a reminder. The answer back that we receive is a reminder that we're able to do it. This will pass. It's going to be okay. We're going to get better at the end. And I'll leave you with that. I wish you much peace. Remember that we are in charge. Stress is not an enemy. We are the enemy. So the moment that we take charge, ownership, responsibility over things, we will be fine. We don't need to be sick about it. Okay? Much peace to you all. Thank you.